everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. The prophet Jeremiah wrote, "Seek the welfare of the city to which I have exiled you, and pray to God on its behalf, for in its prosperity you shall prosper." While I never heard this verse quoted as I was growing up, I was raised in a family in which this maxim undergirded our lives in many ways. I look at my Jewish identity and the importance of civic engagement as twin gifts handed down from my parents to me and my siblings as a treasured inheritance. In my family, one would never consider missing religious school on Sunday morning or high holiday services, no matter what other compelling activities might beckon. And surely one would never miss voting in an election, no matter how minor the races or how few were on the ballot. Judaism and civic engagement were essential to our identity. It seemed to me like they were part and parcel of the same fundamental ethic. And I want to share this evening why I think they actually are. To be clear, it does not say in the Torah, "Thou shalt vote, I am Adonai your God." And yet, there are many statements like Jeremiah's in Jewish tradition, urging us to seek the welfare of our communities and asserting that we Jews fare well only if the communities in which we live prosper. Since ancient times and up to this day, Jews have prayed for the welfare of the government in our weekly worship services. In the earliest post-biblical compilation of Jewish law, the Mishnah, it's declared, "Pray for the government's welfare, for without fear of it, we would swallow each other alive." The great medieval rabbi, Moses Maimonides, said that the purpose of supporting the government is to ensure public order. Another great medieval scholar, Nachmanides, said that the purpose of supporting the government is about the necessity of providing for social welfare. Therefore, throughout history, wherever we lived and whenever we lived in societies that allowed it, and of course, many times in history, we Jews lived in places that did not, but where it was allowed, Jews have been engaged in activities that might improve the community, and our people have shown a deep commitment to political participation. In a democratic society, the vote is the most basic act enabling us to fulfill this commitment. Indeed, the rabbinical organization to which I belong, the Central Conference of American Rabbis, said in its 2001 resolution on election reform, "Our tradition teaches us that the process of choosing leaders is not a privilege, but a collective responsibility." The sage Hillel taught, "Al tifros min hatzibur," do not separate yourself from the community. And Rabbi Yitzchak taught that a ruler is not to be appointed unless the community is first consulted. The resolution goes on, "This ethic of political participation has guided Jews to enthusiastically participate in the American electoral process and is epitomized by our traditionally strong voter turnout. Jews have also placed a priority on voter education and registration efforts." I conclude with a story. A story is told of the great rabbi of the early 20th century known as the Chazon Ish. A man in his community came to the rabbi and explained that he didn't have enough money to pay his taxes and therefore would not be allowed to vote in an upcoming election. The Chazon Ish responded, "You should sell your tefillin and pay the taxes." Now stop to explain that tefillin are leather straps and boxes that are worn by traditional Jewish worshipers, and in the Orthodox community, only men. And they have inside of them scrolls, handwritten scrolls with the words from Deuteronomy, the Shema prayer, "You shall love God with all your heart and soul and might." So these are very costly items and very much cherished by a person who has them. So the Chazon Ish says, sell your tefillin and pay the taxes. Tefillin you can borrow from another, but the right to vote you cannot get from someone else. Thankfully, in the United States, while we are seeing many troubling barriers to voting being implemented today, the 24th Amendment does protect one's right to vote regardless of taxpayer status. But the story of the Chazon Ish shows us that voting is so important that if need be, one should even sell one's tefillin, a symbol of one's commitment to observing the commandments, in order to be able to do so. The Torah may not say, thou shalt vote, but in practice, Jews have acted as if it was the 11th commandment, and it is our sacred obligation to do so in a free society. Thank you.